Hello, everybody. I wanted to do a quick review of the last three books I read. These books are Ancillary Mercy by Ann Leckie, The Flux by Ferrett Steinmetz, and The Lord of All Things by Andreas es- Eschbach. Hope I pronounced that right. So before I do this, I hope that everyone's aware that, if you don't want to know about the books, then you probably shouldn't be watching this video. I'm not going to give away a lot of the plots, but, um, you know, watch at your own risk. So the first book is Ancillary Mercy by Ann Leckie, and I read this electronically. This is what the cover looks like. Not a big fan of the cover. That's not a very pretty cover. That's actually the only criticism I have of this book because this book's great, so it's highly recommended. This book is the third in the series of the Roddick series. It takes place in a far distant human culture that is known as the Roddick. And this culture, the best part about the book is this culture is so well built, and the world building in this is so well done that I just felt like I really understood this culture and had a good sense of what the culture was, and that's not always easy to do in science fiction. So there's several things about the culture, little things that I thought that the author Ann Leckie did really well to sort of put us in this culture, little details. One is this culture is they wear gloves, so it's considered shocking to actually go out without gloves with bare hands. So this is an aspect of the culture. Another is tea. Tea is very important in the culture, as well as the tea services that are used, the cups and the whatnot. They're very highly valued, and there's a lot of symbolism that goes into which set's used for what occasion. So it's very formalized in that sense. Another really interesting thing about this culture is they wear memorial pins. So like when someone dies, and this is the way that they honor the persons. Everybody wears, or the people who are remembering like the family members, they wear a little what's called a memorial pin. So that's kind of little details like that. But the main thing I think that's so cool about this whole series is that this culture only recognizes the female pronouns, so everybody is referred to as she. So this is very challenging at first in a way because you have no idea the gender of most of the characters. You do find out through sideways a couple of the characters' actual biological genders. For the most part, you actually don't know. And so I think that's just so cool. It's so interesting because I found myself imagining, like when I would think about the character later, I would think of them as he or she. So I found myself assigning them a gender, even though there was no way to know exactly. So there's the story. This is the third in the series. Like I said, this review I guess is kind of more of the whole series. There's the main characters. Her name is Breck, and she is an ancillary. She was at one time an AI. She was a ship. So she provides and the story is mainly told from her perspective. So she provides this really interesting narration of the story because she was at one time the ship. So she actually knew the details going on in the whole ship, meaning with every single person, like what was going on, what their emotions were, what their vital signs were, what. And then also she had ancillaries. She had human bodies that she had occupied. Her AI occupied human bodies because this happens in their culture. And so she actually contained thousands of bodies, and then through a series of circumstances that you find out about in book one, she only becomes one of herself, so she becomes one ancillary. So ancillary. She's the kind of the main character. Then there's the other character that she picks up in book one and goes through all three books. Her name is Savardin, and she is she's from a wealthy family in the system, and she and Breck she follows Breck all the way through all 3 series. So she's one of the main characters, and then another one of the main characters is Anander, and she is the leader of all of the Rak, so the whole empire. She's sort of an emperor in basically that's what she is. So she has multiple cells as well. So she has clones, though she doesn't have ancillaries, but her intelligence is in multiple beings all around the galaxy. So, there's some other really interesting parts of this book, like the Presger. The Presger are an alien species that the humans know very little about, and the humans fear them because they're much more technologically advanced. And actually, the Presger had to decide if the humans qualified as a significant species or not, and whether or not they deserve to be treated as such. Otherwise, they would have been treated essentially as humans on Earth today treat animals, meaning pretty much disregarded. There's just this whole series was great. This last book, Ancillary Mercy, really wrapped up the series really well, I thought. All 3 series are definitely worth reading, so I totally enjoyed it, highly recommended, and I do hope that Ann Leckie takes us back to this world sometime relatively soon. So the next book that I read recently was called The Flux, and I'm getting the picture for you here of the cover. Here you go, Flux by Ferrett Steinmetz. This is book 2 of the Mancer series, it's a fantasy series. So I think it's classified as urban fantasy, but this is book 2, like I said. This takes place in a universe where magic exists. It's pretty much our world, except there is magic. And the book's set in New York City, and some people in this world have been able to develop Mancy, they call it, develop magic due to obsession of one kind or another. So different people have different types of magic. So the main characters are Paul and Valentine. So Paul is a bureaucromancer because he has a love of bureaucracy. So he's developed magic around bureaucracy. And Valentine is a video game mancer. She has developed her magic around obsession with video games. So, but there's lots of other different kinds of Mancy. The thing about Mancy in this world is that it is forbidden by the culture at large, and people who possess magic are actually persecuted because there has been Mancy during World War II in this world. This timeline, the Mancy got out of control and opened up a rift in a dimension and basically destroyed Europe. So ever since then, people who possess Mancy are persecuted and driven underground. If they're caught, they're actually re-educated or processed or whatever, so that they are controlled by the government, and then used to hunt other Mancers. So, what I loved about this series and this book in particular, Mancy, the magic that, like the bureaucromancy that's done, any magic that's done, the universe sends back in a payback. So if you use magic, then you're going to get something back. And this can affect you, it can affect those around you, it can have very dire consequences. So this getting back is called The Flux. So this is the second book is called The Flux. So, but what I loved about this series and what I love about this book in particular is just it's such a creative universe. It's just such a fun universe to be in. Paul and Valentine are just a great duo together. They really make a great pair. Paul's a bureaucromancer, so he's really kind of, a tight ass by the book, kind of, loves paperwork, bureaucracy, order, and, Valentine's kind of this freewheeling video game mancer that can has a whole different sort of view of fighting and leveling up and just quest hunting and, this type of thing. So very good pair. They make a very good duo. It's just a delight to read the story. and follow them. There is a third character that it really becomes apparent in the second book, and that's Paul's daughter Aliyah. So she's a little child mancer. So I highly recommend this book, but you need to read the first one first. The first one's called The Flux. So Flux is first, and then The Flux is the second book, but I definitely would recommend you starting with the first book, Flux, first. But highly recommend it. And the third book that I'm going to talk about, I did not love as much. I'm going to pull up the cover of it for you here. This is The Lord of All Things by Andreas Eschbach. There. So this book was published in Germany eventually, and originally, and it was apparently it won. The reason I picked it up is because I read that it had won an award. The award was called Kurd Lebetz La Schweiz Prize. I'm sure I butchered that, so apologies to any German speakers. So it had won a very prestigious science fiction award in Germany, so I picked it up. And first of all, let me talk about what I did like. I did like one of the main characters. The story's mainly about one character, Hiroshi, and then another character, Charlotte, and they become friends as children, and then they proceed on through life as friends. I liked Charlotte has an ability to see through time. She can touch an object and then she can follow it all the way back through time. So she can know its history. She can know where it came from. And in the beginning of the story, she touches a very old artifact, and it sort of shocks her because it's so old and so ancient that it really motivates her to in her lifelong quest, I guess you could say. And then the other thing I liked about it is it's divided up into islands. So there's like book Charlotte's Island, there's Hiroshi's Island, there's like the Island of the Lonely, I think. And anyway, so it's kind of divided up into segments that way. What I did not like about the book was pretty much everything else. Charlotte her character is not developed at all. She has this gift that she can see through time. Really, that's never really developed, actually, surprisingly. It's mentioned, but not really in any kind of meaningful way or anything. Mainly, she spends the book, picking the wrong boyfriend and basically being unhappy. And Hiroshi, his character, he kind of focuses on developing. He early on as a child decides he wants to eliminate poverty from the world because of his experience with it. And in Japan, he's from Japan, and he sets out to do that. And so he works in nanotechnology mainly, and working in that area of research. So I won't give much more away about that because, the story really exists from that point on. Characters pop in and pop out of existence, really just to further the story along, and with no real depth to them at all. And the other thing is just it's just got this blatant sexism to it that's so annoying that I almost didn't finish the book. There's the only female character in the entire book that actually is happy and well adjusted is the one that found the right husband. Literally everybody else really either exists to further the story along in some kind of way, or it seemed like sometimes the author actually went out of his way to make it more sexist than it needed to be. Just not enjoyable for me, so cannot recommend that book at all. I ran over longer than I wanted to go, so that's it. I'd love to hear if any of you have read these books, or if you have any other recommendations for me, I'd love to hear about it down in the comments. So thanks a lot for watching. Bye.